The purpose of this video tutorial is to show how to generate reports or graphical results in ADAPT PT2010. For the first option, we're going to select the report generator icon. The report generator will appear, and on the left hand side of the screen we can see that there are several options which the user can select. If we expand these options, the user can go into the subsets where we can select individual reports. For example, under Tabular Reports Compact, we can select the design parameters and deflections, and under the Tabular Reports Detailed, we'll select the detailed stresses, and finally, for the graphical reports, we're going to select the graphical solutions for the load combinations. We can save this report as a default report and recall that report later on. We can browse existing reports, or we can create a new report. In this case, we're going to create a new report. We're going to call it Report, and the program will generate a Word document showing the results that were selected by the user. We have the design parameters, the deflections, and scrolling down we have detailed stresses, and finally the graphical results for the load combinations. These will show the stresses for the total service condition, moment diagrams, and also reinforcing output for each load combination. Closing the report generator, we now have the option to select PT sum or the graphical solution. So we'll go to the graphical reports, and in the graphical reports we can look at things like the tendon versus the concrete geometry. This shows the profile of the strand or the tendons. The post-tensioning required versus what's provided. We have stresses. If we want to view top stresses versus the allowable, we can select sustained, total, or initial. This will show us blue, which is compression, green is tension, the gray is the allowable stress envelope, and we can do that for both top and also bottom fiber. For any graph, you can use your mouse to scroll along the graph, and when a hand appears you can actually click the value. It will show you the X and Y values. You can also right click, maximize the graph, and show data points at each point or each design section. We'll press escape to exit that. We'll show deflections in the next graph. You can use this graph to show individual deflections for load cases or for the total service envelope. It's important to note that this does not include the creep and shrinkage factor, so if you're trying to compare this deflection result to the tabular result, they're going to be off due to that. So the best way to do that is to use the user-defined. If we use user-defined and we set values, assuming that we have a creep and shrinkage coefficient of 2, we want to set the multipliers to 3 for the self-weight, the superimposed dead load, and also the post-tensioning. Leave the live load and the other loading as 1, and now we have a solution for that specific deflection, which is 0.29 inches. This should match the total deflection from the tabular results. We can also show shear diagrams and bending moment diagrams for any load case and also for the service and strength envelope. Finally, we can go to the PT summary. This will allow us to view results based on load combinations. So we can select a load combination from the list. Here we'll just select strength, and again we can review the shear diagram, the bending moment diagram, and also stresses for these load combinations. Now in this case, because strength is not a service combination, we're not able to plot the total versus the allowable. If we toggle this to service and go back to the stress diagrams, now we can plot the total versus the allowable for that specific load combination. We can also review reinforcing diagrams, and finally we can look at a design summary sheet which will show us several different items: the tendon profile, the CGS and force values for tendons A, B, and C, bottom and top rebar. In this case we have no top or bottom rebar for this section for the service condition. If we go to envelope and go back to the design summary, we need no rebar for this particular case. So the required and provided bars, those are shown here graphically. And then finally we have the shear stirrups, design parameters, and also designer notes. For two-way slabs, the stress ratio and punching shear check is also shown in lieu of the shear stirrups. This will conclude the video tutorial on how to generate reports and graphical results in ADAPT PT 2010.